David Hillary,
Here.
Rob Seaman,
Here.
Superintendent Walters.
Here. So we do have a quorum. Ashley, was the agenda posted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act?
Yes, it was.
Excellent. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to agenda item number 2, the pledge. Flag salute. You would join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me up on the flag salute.
I salute the flag of the state of Oklahoma, its symbols of peace unite all people.
If you would join me in a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Moving into my opening comments, and we'll go to the director. I don't have a lot to add in this morning. I appreciate the director's work, both with the State Department of Education, with the higher ed regents, with OEQA and the legislature. I think we've been able to address a lot of workforce issues. I haven't been around a long time, but I know that I haven't been part of being able to work together with these cohorts as well as we have been. I think the director's done a great job at the Capitol. Very positive reviews. I appreciate him working with us on some things we can fix here at our agency to make sure that whatever we're doing is very complimentary of career techs. I think we've still got things we can continue to improve there to make sure that when a child goes through K-12 education, they're aware of those career tech options. The K-12 system is working well with those. He does a great job of that around the state, but I think particularly the legislature has seen that, and again, I can allow, he can give you more of an update on some of those conversations if he chooses to at this time, but I think that it's been a very positive session. I think that all the different stakeholders in those education groups have worked well together, and so I do see it to be productive. We are in the middle of session, so you always want to cautiously optimistic to see it all the way through, but I think it's gone really well, and I think he's done a great job of advocating for this agency at the Capitol, both with legislators and the other education agencies. So that's all I had. So, Director, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Superintendent, and I will be brief as well. We have a time set in the agenda to talk through thoughts that you have, goals that we have for our agency, so we'll reserve a lot of discussion time for there. I do want to update you that it's CTSO season. If you're not getting invites to judge something or be at something, that's our fault, so make sure that you are getting those and able to come when you can. Legislation, as Superintendent mentioned, is going well. Very positive feedback this year. I will update you on just a couple bills real quick. We have a certification bill that we've talked about before to help workplace specialists become quicker certified instructors at a technology center. That has gone very, very positive. No votes in Senate committee this week, so it will go to Senate floor very soon. Also, graduation requirement bill will be up likely next week in committee, and we'll talk through that as well. I've been working with SDE, Higher Education, State Chamber a lot on that bill and what we need to shape. So there were some tweaks this week, and then we'll get it in committee next week. A few of the other things, adult education, we have a bill to help build portfolios, if you will, for a lack of a better term, for students, because currently, whether a person dropped out as a 12th grader or 11th grader or an 8th grader, they all have to take the same GED. And that's really not fair based on the education that they've had. So we're looking to build something better than that. You know that we have almost 300,000 adults without a high school diploma, and we need to work on that. So how do we do it? Well, we take into account what they've already done instead of treating them all the same. So we're looking at that as well. That bill's gone without a no vote all the way through. So all those things have gone well. We're encouraged by the House and the Senate and what they've seen in career tech and their excitement to increase funding. So that's gone well. So everything has gone pretty positive at the legislature, not without some hiccups, but has gone positive. So good session. I will also add we're in approval time right now for new programs. I've reminded you several times, last year was record-setting, 173 and a half programs. We're likely on track for 40, maybe even more than 40. I know Corey's here somewhere. Yeah, so we will again approve a ton of new programs in K-12. That's your ag programs, FACS programs, BPA, DECA, those that we've been hearing from here. We bring those student groups in, so that's really exciting. More kids would have that opportunity. And that helps them build essential skills. As we learned last night at the FFA event, they're not soft skills anymore, they're essential skills. And also shows them what careers are available. So we're really excited about building that platform out to more students. It's a great time to be in career tech, and we thank you for your service. That's all I've got.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Director. And I know we've got presentations, and we've also got some of these open discussions as well. So I'm going to go ahead and move on into the presentation of the National DECA Conference and possible discussion around that.
You want to do our minutes first?
Oh, sorry. Well, moving too fast here. Let's do a discussion. Thank you, Director. Let's do a discussion and possible action of the minutes on February 15th regular meeting. Do I have a motion on those minutes?
Second?
We've got a motion and a second. You mind calling roll there, Ashley?
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Hillary?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Miss Wesson?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dillingham?
Yes.
Superintendent Walters?
Yes. Motion passes. Sorry, I got a little excited about the National DECA Conference presentation. So, all right, we can now jump into that. Sorry about that, guys.
Did it turn on? Okay, good morning. Thank you for having us. I'm Paxton Caven. I'm the Oklahoma DECA Chartered Association Advisor, and these three ladies will introduce themselves to you shortly. But piggybacking off of what Director Haken said, thank you all for judging for us back in February, whether it was virtually or in person in Midwest City. I know that several of you took us up on that offer, and we could not have done that without you. So we're here to talk to you about Oklahoma DECA, both high school and collegiate, so we'll go ahead and move forward with that. So this is our update for this school year. My contact information is here. Feel free to reach out at any point in time if you have questions about what we're up to with Oklahoma DECA. I'm always on my email and my office, so. Okay, so just a little bit about Oklahoma DECA. What we have found when marketing Oklahoma DECA throughout Oklahoma is that many people recognize it as the program in high school that they went and did job work in. So they got to leave school to go do their DECA class. And then they did competitions and things like that. But DECA is much more than that now, and you're about to find out a little bit more about that. So this year, we ended the year with 1,688 members, which we are on an uphill slide from bouncing back from COVID years and things like that. We are the smallest of the 7 Oklahoma CTSOs, but we are working on changing that too. So, and we are pleased to be offering opportunities to all high school students, 9th through 12th grade, and collegiate, which could be past 12th grade, both in colleges and technology centers. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Peyton to give you an overview of the day.
All right, so a little overview of what we're doing today. We watched the What is DECA video, we did the membership update, and then we are going to introduce ourselves, and then we will look back on CDC, FLC, and our Aim for Glass initiative. We will look forward to what is coming through to the 2024-2025 year, and our why, and then a little Q&A.
All right. Well, my name is Subaha Kibria. I am the Oklahoma DECA State President this year for our 82nd State Council. This past year, I served as the Vice President of Leadership for our 81st State Executive Council. I'm a 3-year DECA member, and I am a 1-year international competition competitor.
My name is Peyton Herrick. I was the Vice President of Career Development for the Council 81 last year. I am a 4-year DECA member, and I am an international competitor, and I will be running for Executive President in the upcoming year.
Good morning. My name is Mariam Amin. I currently serve as the Collegiate DECA Executive Vice President, so that's on the national level. I currently attend the University of Oklahoma with a major in computer science and minor in marketing. I am a 4-year DECA member, so my first year in DECA was my junior year of high school, and I have continued ever since. And I am the founder of the DECA chapter at the University of Oklahoma, so founded that my freshman year last year. And last year, I had the pleasure of serving on the State Executive Council as the second council for Collegiate DECA.
All right, so a little look back on what we did in the 2023-2024 year. We had our FLC theme, which was Go, which was very popular. We had Just DECA for our CDC, and we had our Aim for Glass initiative. At our Aim for Glass initiative, we are really focusing on getting all of our members prepared and getting them ready for competition, getting them ready to network with other members. And we had different training events. We had summer camp, we had the pre-CDC champ camp, and we have pre-ICDC champ camp coming up. And then we had free online practice testing for them to be able to practice on their own and get ready. And then we also had many resources available for all the advisors so they could provide their students with everything that they needed. And then we also talked with our members about how they can prepare at FLC, and we had a previous executive president come and talk to them about different ways that they knew that they could prepare. We had 2 prolific trainers there. They were both from California DECA. And then we had 8 chapters in attendance with 17 members. And we are hoping that it grows next year. We are expecting it to because it was very successful this year and all of the members had a lot of fun. And at FLC, we had 1,946 attendees with 24 workshops presented. And we raised $1,453 in 60 seconds for Muscular Dystrophy Association, which is our nonprofit that we raise money for DECA. And every member, we saw them having fun, we saw them posting after, and we think it was really successful through that. And they were able to learn different networking skills and able to network with everyone and different competition skills, everything they need to be ready for the workforce.
So this past February, from the 13th to the 15th, we had our annual Career Development Conference, and that was hosted in Midwest City this past year. We held over 65 competitive events for high school and collegiate combined. We held numerous workshops. We elected our 82nd State Executive Council. We had our keynote speaker, Alex Morrissey, and we handed out awards for all of those events. We had over 530 attendees, and it was very successful, and most of our members really enjoyed the conference, all in all. So this next year, we look forward to promoting chapter growth, and that is in terms of membership involvement in just the numbers of chapters that we have in general and the numbers of members in each chapter. We also look forward to our International Career Development Conference, and this year the theme is Experience the Difference, and that's what we're really looking forward to doing this next year. And we also hope to really grow our Aim for Glass initiative through our summer camp this next year and all of our champ camps.
Okay, so this year the Collegiate International Career Development Conference will be hosted in Austin, Texas, so luckily not too far away. Last year it was hosted in Orlando, so it was a bit of a trip. It will be from April 19th through the 23rd. And just some of the amazing things that we do at ICDC, we have competitive events, so you will be competing with collegiate students across the nation. And it is just an amazing opportunity to see people implement real world situations, but in a simulated environment where they're able to get feedback. Another thing is we have the executive officer elections. So in the previous school year, unfortunately, there was not an executive officer team. However, we were able to revamp that this year, and I was honored to be one of the executive officers. And we are growing constantly, so actually we have a lot of applications for next year, and we're very excited about that. Another thing is industry connection and leadership activities. So during this conference, we host a lot of leadership workshops. Me and the other officers will be hosting a workshop ourselves, so very excited for that. And there will be a lot of industry professionals there, whether it be judging competitions or just there to network with students. And so it's a great opportunity for students to be able to get those LinkedIns, get those connections for the future.
And then right after the collegiate ICDC is the high school ICDC. It'll be in Anaheim, California this year from April 25th through the 30th. And we will also be hosting the competitive events, which allows students to pick what really they want to focus on in their futures. Because we have such a wide variety, they can see what will help them the most and they get to compete through that. And then we will also have the executive officer elections. And I know this year we had more than last year, and so we were really looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to campaigning through that, and I believe it'll be a lot of fun and probably help Oklahoma DECA really get out there and be known more. And then we have the Industry Connections and Leadership Academies. We have 4 academies being hosted, and members are all welcome to attend them. And they get to really learn from different industry professionals, and they get to learn from Team Tri, who also helps to host these. And we will have 220 attendees attending it this year.
We also aim to have a bigger and better second year of our Aim for Glass Champ Camp. So this will be hosted from July 7th to July 10th of this next year. We are hosting it at Quartz Mountain State Park, so it really is just like a summer camp. And we will be putting all of our attendees through competition and leadership training. Our main goals are to encourage participation and growth and provide opportunities, competition, and leadership opportunities for all of our Oklahoma members. We really look forward to growing this summer camp this next year because since we just established this, it is very brand new, and through marketing this new summer camp and really promoting it, we really hope to grow it as much as possible.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. We're like diamonds in the sky. I knew that we'd become one right away. Oh, right away. At first sight, I felt the energy of sun rays. I saw the light inside. Shine bright tonight. You and I, diamond beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond.
So this summer camp is really, and the whole initiative is geared towards getting Oklahoma DECA on the stage at our international career development conferences. As a smaller state, it's a little bit harder to compete with the 25,000 kids who attend ICDC and are all there to compete and get on stage. So our 220 attendees, we're really trying through those practice tests, through the advisor resources, and through all of the champ camps, which I know some of you help judge and things like that, to prepare our students to help them present the best project in either Austin or Anaheim so that we come home with that DECA glass. So that's our goal with that initiative. Okay, so talking about chapter growth, we have 35 current chapters in Oklahoma DECA. Not much. However, when you think about percentages, we have almost 2,000 members. These chapters are doing the most. We have one school that brings 85 kids to state competition. So when I'm looking at growth as the state advisor, we need to add programs. So that's where this comes in. This first, for high school this year, we sent out a blast cold email to all of the schools that we could find for K-12. And we had 6 who took us up on the offer to come and hear about DECA. We have one that is interested and is currently hopefully filling out a Form 2. We're waiting to see if they do that. We had one chapter, Maud, who filled out the chapter application right after the training. She brought kids to state and things like that, and so she was there right in it. So we hope to continue doing that. Director Haken has given us a lot of freedom and leeway to promote DECA and to grow that way so that we are promoting career tech and also Oklahoma DECA and reaching more students. For collegiate, this is our third year of really promoting collegiate DECA and showing that we have a spot for both our high school students and our adult students in Oklahoma. We added 3 new chapters this year, including one that we converted completely over from another CTSO, so at OBU, which was really exciting. So they ditched their old one and they came to us, which was great. So looking at collegiate DECA, we've had 3 years of just true intention to grow. Collegiate DECA has been around for a while. We've maybe had 1 or 2 students because they were an adult at a tech center program, but no one was really marketing to them and no one was pushing Collegiate DECA. So in year 1, we started by adding our state executive council. We added a state executive council team specifically for Collegiate DECA to our Oklahoma bylaws. And that year we had 3 total chapters, 2 tech centers and the OSU chapter. We had 13 members. We added all of the Collegiate DECA events to Oklahoma DECA's program and let them compete at state. And if you're looking at the Collegiate DECA events versus the high school events, high school is more exploratory, while Collegiate is looking at what do you want to do and what are you doing. Students can present their actual businesses at Collegiate, so it's more real world. We had our first place international winner. We brought home glass from our first ICDC that we attended for Collegiate, which was very exciting. In year 2, we added 2 more chapters for 5 total. We had 28 members, and we elected our first executive collegiate officer, Miriam Amin. And then in year 3, which is where we are now, we have 8 total chapters, 53 members, which means that we have the 50-member threshold to apply for our charter association application. So that we will be sending into DECA Inc., and what that does is allow Oklahoma to be fully recognized as a collegiate chartered association, which our students have had all the opportunities that DECA offers, that they have not been limited through that. But with these 50 members, what we'll be getting is more recognition, and we'll also be able to be eligible to vote if DECA goes through bylaw changes and things like that. So our voice will be heard through Collegiate DECA this way. Okay, and to talk more about Collegiate DECA, we're going to turn it over to Miriam, the expert.
Okay, so with Collegiate DECA being new in Oklahoma, a lot of people are wondering about the impact that it has on students in Oklahoma above K through 12. And so just a couple things about Collegiate. One of my favorite things is that now we offer something like DECA was the only CTSO, it was the only CTSO that did not offer anything for collegiate students. And so now we do offer this program, and not only that, but it is open to all Technology Center and collegiate students, regardless of your major and regardless of your interests, as long as you want to grow professionally and build your leadership skills, DECA is for you. There are no other similar organizations in technology centers and collegiate institutions. So there will be, you'll have your business fraternities, you'll have your business clubs. However, they do not offer such a well-rounded organization, I'd like to think, that DECA offers, whether it be through competition, leadership conferences and workshops, building up your resume, just building up your professional skills, how to talk to recruiters and all things like this. So it is offered to everyone with business fraternities and other organizations. A lot of times you have to have a certain GPA or you have to present yourself in a certain way. But my favorite part about DECA is that everyone is welcome to join and try to build their skills up in that way. We focus a lot on networking skills and connections. So even at the state level and at ICDC, we are just constantly trying to get out there. Oklahoma was not known on the international level before, but now, luckily, because I was able to get this opportunity to be on the executive council, as well as us being able to get glass at ICDC, we are really getting our names out there, not only to other students, but to employers as well. So it's an amazing opportunity there. Competition places students in a simulated real-world experience. So right after college, you dive into the real world. And if you are, all you know in life is your professors and your lectures, then you're going to be a little nervous to be put in these situations. So being able to give collegiate students that experience of going and taking on a project or taking on a real world scenario, however, in a simulated safe environment where they are able to receive feedback is very helpful to collegiate students. Again, it grows your personal and professional development. I've seen students that were so afraid to go up to talk to a recruiter or so afraid to share their ideas, and through the skills that DECA has taught them, their presentation, their leadership skills, and communication skills, they have been able to excel in talking and networking with other people. And lastly, it is a huge resume booster. Although we are small in Oklahoma, internationally we are highly recognized. And even if people have not heard of collegiate DECA, they've heard of high school DECA. And so going up to a recruiter or going up to an employer and being like, I am in DECA, have you heard of it? Even if they were not involved in it in high school, they have most likely heard of it and recognize its impact on students. So it is a great tool to build up your resume.
So we're each going to be talking about our whys and why we joined DECA in the first place. So my why, I joined DECA in the first place because I really wanted to bake cookies, but I've learned that it's actually a lot more than that, and it's taught me how to serve as a leader to both my peers on the state level and even just in general to my family. And it's taught me a lot of essential skills that I know that I will need in the workforce.
I joined my freshman year because my mother told me to. She had been an officer at the same high school I now attend, and she really thought that would be beneficial for me, so I dove into it. At first, I was a little timid because brand new thing, and it was also COVID, and so I didn't get too involved, but then my sophomore year, I really started getting involved, and I grew to love it because I met so many people, I learned so much information, and it truly changed my life because now I am able to talk in front of large rooms of people and get to know everyone and truly listen to what they want from us. And I really enjoy being able to help others through what I have learned and getting to help them in any way I can. So that's really what I'm looking forward to through it.
Kind of similar to what Subaha said, I had a passion for baking. So I first joined my junior year of high school because I wanted to bake cookies and because there was a trip to Dallas that they did annually and I wanted to go to Dallas. But the reason why I stayed, actually, unfortunately, the year that I joined, it was the COVID year. So we had the A and B schedules and the virtual and all that. And what really kept me in DECA was not only the community. DECA has an amazing community. It fosters students that are very goal-oriented and all want to excel in their futures. And I think that's an amazing group of people to surround yourself with. But not only that, it helped me learn more about what I want to do with my future. So before joining DECA, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And after joining, I realized I actually have a passion for business and I enjoy marketing. And it's something that I can see myself doing in the future. And although I am a computer science major, I'm kind of hoping to go towards the more business route of that field of study. Yeah, that's really what kept me in DECA and helped me grow. I was a very shy and timid kid in high school, and being able to grow as a leader and take on these risks and try to reach out for bigger positions in this organization has helped shape me into the person I am today, and I can safely say that without DECA, I would not be the person I am today. Thank you. We can open it up for questions if you guys might have any, but that's all we got for you.
So when you say international, is that actually international? So what other countries get involved?
Hey, you want to take it? For the high school division, we have chartered ones, and they are Puerto Rico, Ontario, and then we also have Germany. But then we have many other countries that aren't chartered because they do not meet the required amount. Because I know we have India, we have Japan, we have so many different countries. We have Spain. So there's a ton of different people we get to meet from around the world. So not just throughout the U.S.
You know all their languages?
I can do Spanish.
Yeah, as for collegiate, we do have a couple. Collegiate is smaller, but we have a chapter in England, we have a chapter in India, and we have a chapter in Puerto Rico. So we are slowly growing.
I noticed on your slides the 30-second elevator pitch. Do any of the three of you want to give us a quick example of one? You don't have to either. I'm just curious because it looked like one of the things that was you were.
You don't have to time it, but go for it. You guys know.
Okay. Do you want me to just pitch myself real quick?
Sure.
Okay. I haven't done this in a minute. Good morning. My name is Mariam Amin. I currently serve as the Collegiate DECA Executive Vice President. The reason why I joined DECA, I kind of mentioned it a little to you earlier, but it was not necessarily for all the benefits that DECA provided. However, what kept me in the organization is the amazing community that I was able to meet. And not only that, but all the skills, whether it be leadership-wise or business-wise, that I was able to gain from the organization. I can safely say that if it weren't for DECA, I would not be the person I am today. And actually, DECA has helped me get my first internship at a startup here as a software development engineer at a company called UFlip. And one of the big things they were looking at was leadership skills. And so being able to present myself through this organization as a leader that fosters community and growth is something that has helped me tremendously.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations to all of you, and thank you for your leadership. I think it's great. So.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Very good conversations. I think we appreciate the fact that you guys are articulate. You can have conversation. You can look in the eye. You can visit, and it's very proud to be a charter member of a collegiate chapter.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So that's good. But thank you for what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
And you mentioned, I'm sorry, I forgot the terminology about being a state, with 50 being a state, what was it called? I'm sorry. A state
A chartered association.
A chartered association. So do you know roughly how many states are? I mean, are our surrounding states, do they have a chartered affiliate?
So for high school, all 50 of the states are chartered associations. High school DECA is massive. So for collegiate, Kansas has a chartered association,
Yeah.
Texas has a chartered association, but New Mexico and Arkansas do not. They don't even do collegiate DECA. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah. So and we've received quite a bit of help from our Texas neighbors, so they've been very helpful in helping me navigate the collegiate waters and things like that. So
Awesome.
Well, I want to thank you guys for your leadership of not only in the high school level. Sometimes it's hard to transition any kind of program from high school to college. It's just that's a significant shift in everyone's life at that point in time. So I commend you all for your leadership to not only have such a great program in the high school level, but as you build this out and we become an affiliated program, so many more students are going to go, this is a path for me going all the way through college. It'll help, I think, getting students continuing through the program, but also seeing the benefit that this will have not only in college, but also post-college and whatever business you get involved in. So great program. We're very proud of DECA here in the state, here at the state board level. So thank you guys for what you're doing, and this is fantastic. We'll appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I will say, we have Be Might Day at the Capitol happening right now, so we're going to dart off to go advocate for DECA. So
Thank you.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, that was excellent. Now, discussion and review of agency goals by Director Haken.
All right, folks, what I've added in is just an agenda item so we can talk through some thoughts or vision or plans that you guys see, what you hear, anything that you're thinking of would be beneficial to us. So typically what we don't have built in our agenda is time where we can talk about where we are on our goals and what you see for the future. I think it's valuable that we have a board that crosses a lot of different industries, a lot of different walks of life, and it would be valuable to me to talk about what you see and what you're hearing in your communities. I did put up there the goals that we have set. When we came into this in June, we started talking about what can we really do. and where's the difference that we can make. So I will say that we are on track for a lot of these, and we've talked about that. We've talked about our strategic plan and all those things. But what I really want to hear is ideas and thoughts that you're hearing so we can just have open discussion about what's going well, what's not going well. I will tell you on the K-12 program side, I don't think that that's going to be a big issue. So as you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, this is by 2028. And I think that we will be on track. Every single CTSO is growing. Every single program field of study is growing. So we are seeing lots of schools wanting to add. That's not been an issue. The issue is going to be how do we get enough teachers to fill those spots? So we're working on that as well. In different disciplines, we have different plans of how we will get those teachers. So we're working through that. Just to give you an example of the things that I would like to talk about today, like we talked about this bill for the certification for a workplace specialist. I mean, that was a discussion that Rob and I had, and we kind of had it in the works before that because of a program that came from Indiana to us. Those are the ideas that help make things move forward for this state. So that's just an example. And because of that, that will help our full-time tech center enrollments increase, because then we are able to recruit those near retirement or wanting to retire or wanting to make a change of pace, and they won't have to continue with an associate's or bachelor's degree. So that's a big change. So that impacts our second goal. Skill center enrollments, as long as we can continue to navigate and make beneficial changes that help DOC as well, I don't see an issue with that goal. I think that we will be able to move forward. It's slow to get things built. It's slow to move government to add buildings and facilities and things like that. But it's pretty easy to navigate the waters with DOC. They love what we're doing. We love working with them, and we can move those inmates where needed. So that helps. The apprenticeship piece we can talk about quite a bit. We are actually in a planning phase right now with the Department of Commerce of how could we help take on the DOL mission of apprenticeships and how can Career Tech further that. So I think that in the few coming months, we will have a lot more information that we can share on where apprenticeships are and how Career Tech will lead the state forward in apprenticeships. Because we know that the workforce need being what it is, we can't do that alone with what we currently have. We're going to have to make some changes. We're going to have to do things differently. Well, the good thing is Oklahoma Career Tech is built to think about education differently. So that's what apprenticeships will represent, and we will start moving forward with that as well with our tech center help and with our high school help. So I want to make sure that I mention a few things that we're working on. I apologize that text is a little bit small for you, but I think we've got enough screens that everybody should be able to see. What are our roles as the agency and the leaders of Oklahoma Career Tech? One of the things that I've been focusing on and talking with our superintendents and at our K-12s and our tech centers is program approvals. What's the value of those, and how do we make sure that we are tying that to something that's valuable? Well, as a state board, I expect you to see more of those three bullets underneath that title coming to you over the next year. So tied to funding. How do we make sure that funding is aligned with what program needs are? How do we make sure that program approvals are tied into accreditation and that we are making sure all programs are being able to be filled and that we are able to, for lack of a better term, eliminate programs that are not being successful, and then focus on improvement. How do we make sure that we are helping schools improve? How are we facilitating that? So one of the things that I'm working on in that area is you will likely see in a few short months is a performance auditor coming on board on our staff. We had an internal auditor position, revamped that with our team, talking about what could a performance auditor look like to make sure that our schools are similar in the way that they're coding information, the way the data is coming to us, to make sure that funding is matching student services, all those things that we don't currently track well enough, in my opinion. So that's one of the things that I have seen coming forward. So any of these things are up for discussion. I really just want to hear your thoughts. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Professional development, I will mention. We've got to do a better job. As we have more teachers that are coming on without experience, and as we are having more people enter our doors that have no education background but want to be in that space, we've got to do a better job with professional development. You guys went through similar experiences like I did. I had a great experience in college and came out into a classroom and was about halfway prepared or a third prepared. You need professional development to be ongoing to help you through that. So we can do a better job there. Our team, we are ramping up for that. Curriculum and standards. this agency used to lead the nation in curriculum for CTE and what are the standards for CTE. We have not done that in over a decade where we really supported what it is. We've gotten pretty lax on what that was. As cuts came to the state of Oklahoma, that's one of the places where we dropped the ball, and I'm not saying we write books anymore. What I am saying we need to do is we need to help our teachers understand what curriculums are available and what standards we need to be meeting. So I'll give you an example in agriculture education, which we wrote the text for most of the world at one point. Now we don't, which is fine, but we also don't have anyone that reviews the standards for us. So we don't have a staff member charged with doing that, and that's a shame from a state agency. So there's a lot of things that we can work on, and those are my thoughts, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So kind of an open discussion time. And don't be bashful just because we have Travis Graham here, superintendent at Pontotoc.
One of the things that is certainly taken a positive direction on, but I really think we still need to work in that area is, sorry, see the green light. The agency does a really good job. I mean, you have a great staff, you have a great crew, but sometimes we're not as competitive in the salary range. So I mean, we've taken a small step there. Some of those teachers, some of the personnel at the agency went back to the classroom because of the pay raise, which thank you to our state legislators for what they did. But also, I mean, you really need a great support group. And then you mentioned some of the divisions in, you know, the only thing constant in life is change. And so from the education side of it, some of our curriculum, not, you know, I mean, we used to sell books to everybody in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we don't do books anymore. So some of that curriculum needs to be updated and constantly updated. Well, you know, I mean, that actually requires staff to do that.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, I mean, you're heading in the right direction. I mean, you have a great team. And then also, I'm a huge advocate for the increased programs in all of the schools, but certainly in the comprehensive high schools. And, you know, we've taken steps in that in the last couple of years, which have been great. So.
Yeah, thank you. So you mentioned competitive salaries, and I'll be, I mean, there's no other way to say it. We are, at the agency, most of our positions are below where you could go to a school, any school, and work now. So we're looking at that hard. How do we recruit people? That's going to become more and more difficult. We did take a small step forward last year with the increased dollars, and we will look at that every year. But now, I mean, just talking with our field at the events I've been at the last few weeks, about positions that we have available, and they're like, why would I leave the classroom? I like what I'm doing and I can make more money there. So we're going to have to look at it if we want to recruit people that are good. And that's not an effort to grow government. That's an effort to support the field that needs supported. So that's my ambition there.
Yes.
Yep.
And we received an email the other day from the legal counsel about our request to OMES, and so from the state level, we as a board need to certainly help with that and work on that. So because not only do we struggle a little bit competitive, it appears that a lot of the career tech employees are there, you know, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, they have to have a day job, but they're there out of passion because they care and they love what they do. And they love to see the results of you know, the three young ladies that was here today. So that's why they do what they do. But still, you know, I mean, we need to be competitive, and we'll get back with you on the other issues. So,
Yep.
so
Thank you.
thank you.
How far off are we?
That depends on the range.
Like a
Yeah.
teacher,
So our
20%, 10%?
yeah, more like 5 to 6% on the teacher range for program specialist positions. We also have to look at our leadership team and where they are right now to recruit somebody to our top leadership positions. they would make more at most high school principal jobs. So it's harder to recruit people there, but more like 5 to 6% off, in some cases up to 10, depending on what it is. There was a 9% pay increase bill for state employees that was that has died now, but there may be some movement within the budgeting process for state employees. So that's all state employees, which our people would be part of that. So yeah, but 5 to 6% in most instances, up to 10, depending on the position. And we have some positions that are competitive. So I don't want to say that all are not. There are some positions that are right where they need to be. So it's not a uniform across the board. We need to look at each area.
I'd like to talk about wait lists.
Yeah.
So in my mind's eye, one kid waiting that's qualified to be educated, that is not being educated by us, is unacceptable.
Yeah. And I'm with you.
Totally unacceptable.
Yeah.
We need qualified workforce people. Our job is to do that. So in my opinion, we should have a sense of urgency about this. I don't know how many now. I mean, you know, you hear 11,000, 5,000, you know,
Yep.
everyone kind of has a
I can tell you,
floating number.
and 3 or 4 months ago, but we went from 11,000 at the end of last year, where we were able to grow by 9.5% and whittle that down to 7,399. But that's been a few months now, and we've accepted some since Christmas break. So I don't know exactly where it is now, but that's been the mission, is to eliminate.
So, a question, just an idea. So we're having accreditation going on here. Is there something in here says, hey, what are you doing about curing your wait list challenge? Is that in here?
It's not, and that's what your top bullet is. I think we need to get back to. The agency used to do that, is how do you have a plan for growth? They haven't done that in I think, about 8 or 9 years. And so that is something you'll probably see coming forward. The policy used to read that a program for 3 years must be at least 55% full, and that policy has expired and needs to be looked at. Most of our schools have one. As I'm looking around, some of them are 60, 65%, but not all of them do. We need to lead again from a state board perspective and make sure that we have an expectation of what can be done in our schools. So the answer is no, but that'll be coming to you this year.
So I think it's only fair to then say, what's the definition? Okay, so let's call it functional zero. So that means that all the folks that want to
Yes.
find education through us are getting it. And there's some, I understand, you know, I'm there, you know, I want to do cosmetic, or, you know, I want to do whatever, you know, welding, but then next week I want to do bricklaying. So they're like, you know, they don't necessarily, aren't a great qualifier.
Yes.
But I think that we should come up with, what is that definition? So look, if we're saying, and we're promoting the idea that we don't have anyone waiting to be educated by us, then what is the definition of that?
Correct.
Because there's always going to be that flux, right?
Yes.
That you can't necessarily get all the way to 0, but functional zero means
Yes.
reasonable, everyone who is seeking education through us is getting it.
I think you're 100% on track, and that's what I try to explain to people, legislators all the time, is we're never going to be at a 0 waiting list the way that it is currently defined. There are kids that are not ready. There are students that haven't taken what they need to be there. I mean, those things are not what we're talking about. It's that one that really needed to be there and couldn't. That's what and that definition is difficult, as Travis would probably know. It's how do we review, is a kid ready, is an adult ready? Those things we have to take a look at with the school's input. They will have a better idea of, okay, how do we review this? What I don't like right now is that we have a different view of that across the state, is how we examine what the need is, and that's what I want to help bring some consensus to, just like we talked about with tuition a month ago, is we need to bring some more consensus to that, as how do we make sure that that's accurate for what the program is. And I think the same thing is true on a waiting list definition. I don't like where we are currently. We're really shooting in the dark. How many kids applied and how many didn't get in? That's not an accurate number. We know that the number is high of those that need to be in, but we don't have a good definition. Yeah, I think that's great.
Since I have the floor, I have one other suggestion. I really don't like the layout of this room.
What's your problem with the room?
I mean, come on, man. turn
want
that,
me to do?
turn that table that way, and then all the people that are on this board can see the people that are here to listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
I hate having my back to anyone. I mean, I can't do it in a
So wait, what are we
restaurant.
talking, you want to turn the table like that? Like,
No, just your table needs to go straight and maybe pull it out a tad. You could put that, the state seal and the flags on that column right there. I got this figured out. Then the whole table can stretch this away and that podium could go right there. And all of us can see all of them and they can see us. See, I could have been sleeping during that deal and they didn't know.
Yeah.
And
They saw you on
I have to
YouTube,
deal
though.
with these two guys. so
let the
that
record show
everybody
Michael
knows.
Brown was not sleeping. That was just a, okay.
Make that a point. Just throwing that out there for a suggestion. I know change is hard. Change is hard. This is an easy one. This is an easy one.
Or you could move Mr. Brown back on that side of the table.
And then that could
Good.
solve the problem, but not for everyone.
Okay, so, just trying to make sure I understand it. You want everybody to face that way?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Will you back to her?
That's back on track. Go ahead, Kendra.
So when you said that you're recruiting from school administrators, let's say K-12 school administrators, is that the only pool that you're recruiting from?
Absolutely
Or do you find that
not.
to be the most valuable pool, or why that connect? Tell me about that.
So the connection is that in school leadership is most common to recruit to leadership within an agency. Those people that excel at school leadership, that's common, but that's not the only pool. We have people from all walks of life that apply, and we don't target any certain direction or occupation because sometimes it's a business person that's the most valuable. That's harder to pinpoint what is equivalent because business varies so much. Where in education, everybody's pretty consistent. So that's the easiest target to say, where are we at in valuation, behind or below, or where are we at? Well, education's the most clear place to look because that's what we do. So that doesn't mean that we recruit at that level. The thought is leadership in our agency is very similar to leadership within schools. So how are we valuing ourselves compared to schools? And so if we're behind, would it entice a business person or a school person to go to a school or come to us? That's what we're looking at is, what's more enticing for them to move into. So it's really hard to recruit leaders when you don't pay the same value of the entity that we're leading. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
The idea there is, I have brought this up before, so in order to attract more business folks to become instructors or working with our students, we could implement possibly a tax deduction plan. So, for instance, not everyone who's in business necessarily is attracted to a certain amount of money to come be an instructor. They may be okay in that regard.
Yeah.
But it sure would help them if they got a tax break. So I'm just throwing this out as an idea. Maybe we could do a little research on it, form a
Yes.
task force, talk to some people and see if that's interesting to them. But a way to motivate our folks in the business world to be more active with us is to hit them where they want to be hit. You see
That's
what I'm
right.
saying?
I think that'd be a great viewpoint with some of our partners, maybe state chamber or regional chambers. They would have a better idea probably on that than we would. And when we talk about policy decisions, they may have some ideas. That'd be good. That'd be great.
And to add to that, it could be I'm really excited about that program, as you know, but, it could be a generational thing as well. If you get a retiree that's coming out of, I'm in aviation, so if you get a retiree coming out of aviation that's got 40 years in aviation and he goes in, he steps in a classroom, you're right, compensation isn't going to really lure those people in, but if you were, a tax break, or if you were to make it generational to where you don't pay them dollars, but you pay them in credit hours that they could gift to somebody in their church or a grandchild or someone along those lines. If you turn it generational and you attract people in that way, and also I think Career Tech does a really good job with their videos, with their social media. One of the things I've heard is, even on the private sector, is using those videos as almost a benchmark. They're so good and they're so professionally made in comparison with what else is out there. that, you know, even luring people in. It's very difficult to get people to read something, but they'll watch a video.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that Career Tech does extremely well. And if you use something we do well to capitalize on new programs, I think we'll see good benefit.
Doctor, I was going to piggyback on something Mike said, not the interior decorating feedback, but the talking about the growth of certain programs and wait lists, you know, something, and you've talked a lot about it too, but when we have folks that are saying, hey, look, there's certain programs we're really wanting to grow that meet the workforce needs, and you talked a little bit about it, but could I just ask you, as we're talking about growing programs, as we're talking about, you know, tying more funds to this, how do you navigate, and can you kind of walk us through a little bit of, hey, look, the ones that are most specific to our workforce shortage areas or the highest need areas, will they be given, you know, kind of will their growth be targeted over maybe a program that doesn't have near a shortage area? Can you kind of talk about that kind of investment in the state?
Definitely. So talking about pinpointing areas of need, so there's a couple different ways that we do that, and that's kind of how our request was built this year for our appropriations request was, what are the target areas that we're needing to grow? We rely heavily on the local area to help make that decision because the workforce need in the local area is different. Now, there may be a future need that's different than the current need. We have to be mindful of that, and that's where we can get input from data sources at Commerce or regional chambers of commerce, all those things. But we rely heavily on what is the local job placement in that area, and so our schools all have advisory committees that help determine that. And then we, as an agency, need to do a better job of pinpointing the funding to help that. That's where I feel like we've slacked. The schools have done their job to understand the data. We have slacked as an agency is how do we get dollars to match that need? And that's what we're looking at changing is what is the, and I've actually got a committee of superintendents right now helping me shape, if we get new dollars, how do we make sure that we incentivize growth? And so that's a different approach than what we've had in the past. But to be real fair, in the past by this agency, we've actually declined by $8 million over the last decade for programs. So when you're declining in finance, it's hard to make a change with how are we going to pinpoint this. That's not an excuse, but that's just the reality that we have. So as dollars come in, that's the best time to make a change is how do we help growth in targeted areas? We know that the state resources and why we asked, we'll say that healthcare has been number one. That's also one of our number one growing enrollment areas. And then we have looked at transportation last year, CDL classes. So we took care of that need best we could last year. That's going really well. And then we are looking at manufacturing as one of the highest growth areas, and manufacturing covers a big scope. And then all of our trades occupations after that have been leading the charge. There's growth in lots of areas, and that needs to be determined locally. But those three is how we shaped our request this year. It's been very positive in the legislature. Yep.
That's excellent. I would say that agility makes Career Tech the most agile system. When we're talking about meeting the needs of workforce. And so then just make sure if I could sum it up, like tell me if I'm summing it up accurately. If I could say, if a local program noticed a large demand in HVAC systems, you're working to have the agency go, look, we have program money that we will then be able to take into account that we really need to help you stand up this program in particular because of the needs you're seeing locally.
That's correct. Yep.
I think it's great.
Yeah, that's how we would like to have our funding work.
Absolutely.
You mentioned apprenticeships, and
Yes.
how many of our students currently participate in apprenticeships? I mean,
Very, very few. Max, do you remember how many we had an 01 code? Yeah.
what are the practical limitations around apprenticeships? It seems like that's a no-brainer.
That depends on how you define an apprenticeship also, if I might, because we have registered apprenticeships through DOL, and then we also have a platform we're building now that has never been built for Oklahoma of what does Oklahoma recognize as an apprenticeship model. That's never been done in the state, so that's one of the limitations, and we're working on that right now. We've really got it done. We're going to roll it out as soon as we have funding to match it. But that's a limitation. When you don't define it, then what am I going after? So that's a part of the problem. The registered apprenticeships are difficult for small businesses to meet the requirements. So what Department of Commerce individuals did well this past year was incentivize businesses, so they have dollars for incentives, and we're hoping to continue that and move that forward as likely this grant comes to us. And then education. When you only have two people covering a state to tell them about what apprenticeships are, it's hard to reach enough people. So we're going to have to put more of a team together to educate. And that's where our schools are such a good resource and why I think apprenticeships match what Oklahoma Career Tech is, because we cover the state. So once our people know and they can help, we can cover everybody, whereas a lot of systems cannot, the way they're built. So education is the key. People just don't know what's available. They don't know how the dollars work, and then we didn't define it very well as a state. In other states where it took off, and I may have mentioned this before, the unions led it. Well, I don't want unions necessarily, so we need to lead it. So how do we make sure that we lead education so that they know what's available? Because there's tons of federal dollars that can be accessed to help businesses grow with apprentices. We just need to do a better job. Did I explain that right? Okay.
The only other comment, Rob brought up a good point about the videos. That people look at videos, they don't read, they look, and the shorter the better. You know, it's kind of the attention span in today's world. And so still, I think we have a little bit of an issue publicly, and it's better the last couple of years. But there are a lot of people in the state of Oklahoma that do not associate the Career Tech student organizations with Career Tech. Whenever you ask, and then also you say, I mean, we're going to Career Tech, we're going to teach you about heat and air. No, we don't do that. We learn that at VOTEC. So that's still out there.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the direction maybe of Career Tech is the word, and then also Career Tech has membership in the comprehensive high schools, FFA, DECA,
Yeah.
Family Consumer Science.
140,000 kids.
Yeah. And I mean, you can set with, probably you see this, Director Haken, you can go to some of the current legislators and say, I mean, we need the FFA kids because they're part of Career Tech. No, they're not. So I think we need to do a better job of educating the public what the big picture of Career Tech is. So, we've had that for the last several years, but I mean, it's better the last couple of years. So, but I just really think we need to continue in that direction to know that we're all one.
We are Career Tech campaign or something, yeah. I think that's great. Yeah, we do fight that quite a bit.
Videos, right? And that,
I had that issue in Senate Education Committee where I was explaining the funding that came for comprehensive high school programs last year and then the funding I'm asking for this year, and they said, so FFA's not through SDE? And I'm like, well, the teachers are part of that local school, but we fund the program that happens. So we had to have a lot of education that we didn't expect to. You think people know because we know, but they don't understand how that funding works and what family they're a part of when they compete at those CTSO events. So education is important. Awesome. Well, this discussion is something that needs to continue and be ongoing. It's not something we need to belabor here, but I want to make sure that we are open-minded and we're looking for what's available. So I took lots of notes, and I think it's important that we can, this is really our only setting where we can have a group discussion, is in an open meeting like this. So, always take a phone call, individual or ideas that you have, but I think it's good to all kind of get on the same page. So I appreciate you guys letting me have a little bit of time for that. Sorry to the audience that had to sit and listen to everything, but that's how it works.
No, thank you for putting
Yeah.
it on here. I think it's very healthy. So.
I'm glad they weren't looking at me.
Thank you, Director. I think that was a great discussion, and we'll continue that ongoing. Next, we have 4.1, discussion and possible action, full post-secondary accreditation for Pontotoc Technology Center. So, Ms. Ventris, want to present that for us?
Good morning.
Morning.
Last one for this year, but don't worry, there's 8 next year, so lots of fun next year. I'd like to introduce, first of all, Joey Van Eck. He is our new accreditation manager, so this is his first board meeting with us here today. Okay, on November 7th through the 9th of 2023, the Accreditation Division conducted a hybrid visit at Pontotoc Technology Center in Ada. The examiner team was comprised of 27 examiners and agency staff. There were 18 examiners from other technology centers. The examiners interviewed 22 stakeholders in various manners, including individual settings as well as small groups. The examiners evaluated, as usual, all aspects of the Technology Center's operations, including those standards that have been approved by this board. The standards address leadership and administration, instruction and training, support services, measurement analysis, personnel, operations, and system impact. The accreditation staff also conducted technical visits for financial aid and safety before the visit to help staff prepare. Examiners also began this process by reviewing the application that the Technology Center submitted. The examiners interviewed Technology Center's administrators, certified staff, support staff, students and stakeholders, and of course, stakeholders included business and industry representatives, community leaders, partner school administrators, teachers, and parents of students attending the Technology Center. Examiners also observed all program areas while on site. If approved, the Technology Center will have 90 days to submit that action plan that includes one opportunity for improvement from each of the first 6 standards. Agency staff works with the school to monitor those action plans and then provide assistance as needed. The examiners found no areas of noncompliance, and we recommend the board grant full accreditation to Pontotoc Technology Center. And the superintendent is here, if you have any questions for him, or if you'd like to say anything.
As you guys are looking through that, invite Travis up.
Well, the good part was, when I came in my second year is when we did this accreditation. So I came from the K-12 world, and so this is a different kind of accreditation than what we do at the K-12 side. I like this because it allows you to tell your story. Sometimes the accreditation you get on the secondary, on the K-12 side, is more of a, you ask a question, here's a sheet of piece of paper that proves what we do. Here I get to tell you what we do and why we do it. And so I do like the in-depth look of it. The State Department, the agency, has been phenomenal to work with. They've been great. We enjoyed having them. We enjoy telling our story. And, as we sit over here and we listen to the conversation that happens, I can tell you at Pontotoc Technology Center, one of our values is being fearless. And a lot of the issues that you guys touch on today is we try to be out in front of that. We try to be very proactive in what we're doing. And a lot of the opportunities for improvements that we already got, typical education fashion, we expect the good, and then we spend our time looking at those opportunities for improvement. And as we look through those, a lot of the things that were brought up were issues that we were already solving or trying to address. And it allows us to grow, allows us to have that honest conversation, and we appreciate it.
Does the board have questions for the superintendent or for Jessica?
So one question I had for you, and I know it's something that Career Tech and Higher Ed is working hard, the director's working with Career Tech on, both the Higher Ed on, is the college credits for our classes at our curriculum. I noticed that y'all have agreements with Murray State and with OSU, giving college credits for some of the classes, and I was just kind of curious, just tell us a little bit about how that's working, what classes those are on, some of that.
Well, it's been creating those pathways. One of the areas that may not have been there at that time, we've also, East Central University is right in our back door, Pontotoc, right in Ada. And we extended our partnership where a lot of our students were doing, you talked about the multimedia, which I'm really glad I didn't bring a PowerPoint because I'd have been put to shame by DECA. It's nice that I get to just tell you about it. But so they do a lot of marketing, a lot of events for them. So even our students, as there's a pathway, we serve a lot of high school students. Our positive placement is always in the mid-90s and up. And that's college and career. And so a lot of these classes that we get to, for example, our IT department, a lot of those students are going to the college route. And so by them participating, helping out with East Central, they get those credits for East Central by doing those events to help them out. We were lucky enough to be picked by their Regents Partner Award for East Central University this past year. And there's all types of workforce. And so that I want to make sure that our students create their full potential. And whatever area that is, whether that be in our IT, or we have a biotech, a biomed program. They do a lot of their lab work through science, as well as our LPN program. Getting those 20-plus hours, depending on the institutions, creating those MOUs, create pathways. And having Mercy Hospital and Chickasaw Nation Hospital there, we have some pretty good partners that are behind us that need our workforce it's not just what they are now, but what they become. So those scholarships and that investment is continual.
I'd just like to say thank you. I know this is quite a process to go through, and the fact that you are well down the path on the opportunities for improvements. But in reading through there was a lot of things that you all were praised about, and just good job. I mean, thank you for your hard work. So.
All right, well, I appreciate the opportunity to serve my sending schools and our communities. Thank you.
Move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ashley, mind calling roll for us?
Mr. Dillingham?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Wesson?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Mr. Hillary?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Superintendent Walters?
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Congratulations, Superintendent. Thank you for your leadership. That was very smooth, and I'm glad everything went well with accreditation, and we're excited about the future there. Next, we've got discussion on possible action for a contract with the Oklahoma Department of Human Services.
Go ahead, Letha. While she's making her way up there, I will tell you, we're excited about the contracts with, there's two that you will see. We'll go through one at a time. Oklahoma Human Services. We don't necessarily have the entire scope planned out for where we are going with the schools. We have our ambition, you'll see there where we're at. But I don't want this board to be a holdup as we move forward, because these contracts will still have to go before the commission at Oklahoma Human Services, and then we will have to start implementation. So I think it's still a process moving forward, but we've got some great plans and some great working ideas with Oklahoma Human Services. So Letha, go ahead and lead us down that road.
Okay. Thank you, Superintendent Walters, Director Haken, and the board for giving me this opportunity today to visit with you about the contracts that we have with Oklahoma Human Services. We started our process in May of 2023. Oklahoma Human Services came to our agency, and they shared with us their vision for serving TANF populations, that's temporary aids for needy families. And we began at that time constructing what we saw as a program that we could carry out for career techs. We have had our existing program serving TANF participants for over 20 years. And this program has really not changed over the 20 years. But we know the needs of individuals that receive those services have changed quite a bit. And so this was our opportunity to look at also expanding statewide. That was one of the desires that they had for our services. We are currently serving our current programs. We serve TANF in 10 of our technology centers. So the first contract that's before you is for Jobs for American Graduates.
Nope, that's the second one.
That's the second one?
Yep.
TANF first?
Do TANF first, yep.
Okay. I was kind of on that route anyway. I guess I'll just go back. The TANF, we will start off with 10 of our existing programs, and we will be looking at having a TANF navigator, a training navigator at each of those 10 sites. And that person will assist in enrolling TANF participants and monitoring their attendance, making sure they're in the right training program, and coordinating those services for that TANF participant. On year 2, that expands, and will expand to over 20 of the technology centers. We'll be working closely with Oklahoma Human Services and addressing their priority counties for and looking at their data as we expand. The goal is to expand to all 29 technology centers over 3 years. This is a continuing contract. So like I said, we were under the existing contract for over 20 years. This contract will be further defined as we go forward.
So, thank you, Letha. That was great. I will tell you the contract's been reviewed by Andra as well as our council and the OHS team. We have gone through this contract. Basically, what it does, I'll kind of summarize. It gets dollars that are available through the TANF services, through that grant, into technology centers to provide service to those clients that are underserved. So that's the goal, is that we can work people toward education that gets them off government services. So that's the whole, that's my ambition, and I think that is OHS as well, is that we're going to help move people up a career ladder so that they will not need government services as they currently do. We want to empower people. That's why it is called what it is, and I believe that this contract will provide the opportunity for a technology service to draw down dollars and employ a navigator is what we're calling it, but it's really a person that is the resource to that TANF client. So think of it as they currently would reach out to a DHS worker for services. Now they would have a contact within a technology center that they could reach out to figure out, how do I get education? How do I get jobs? Those types of things. Very excited about what it could do, and it provide an opportunity that the technology centers would not have to do that at their cost, that they could have a navigator at our cost. No.
So do they supply the navigator? And
We do.
We pay them, or they?
Nope. So the technology center would. The technology center would have the opportunity to employ whoever they wanted to, that's locally, that knows these people, that could work with what's in that opportunity. We would pay for it.
Okay.
So the money would come to us in a lump sum, and then we could help the technology center pay for that.
They're an employee of
the technology center.
local technology.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
The contract itself pays for a person on our staff, a TANF coordinator statewide, and an HSE coordinator statewide, someone that will work with high school equivalency. So many TANF participants come into their program, and they need to obtain that high school equivalency before going on into a training program. And this would work statewide with our existing services, and expanding those services to hopefully reach more people.
So that would work to braid the services TANF does with our adult education. So for those of you that we just talked about, that portfolio that we're hoping to gain for students to access high school equivalency, it would put those things together, where they have been separate in the past, where if you were on TANF, you had to get HSE through TANF. Now, if you're on TANF, slide over and get some help through adult education, and then we can help you get into continual training after that. So initially, like Letha said, it would start with a pilot group, and then it's a 1 year up for renewal after that, where we could expand further. It was OHS's vision that we would get it to every technology center as quickly as possible. We're a little hesitant to just open it to everybody all at once until we know what we're doing for sure. So we have a pilot group the first year, and then it would be more open.
Is that front-loaded? Do we get the money and then spend it, or then we spend it and then get the money?
We have access to the dollars as soon as the contract is approved by both entities and the date of contract has been initiated. So,
Awesome.
yep, we could draw down from those dollars.
And you looked through all the documents, and you looked through all the documents, and you
We think so.
and you have a plan for the START program?
We do. We do. And there's going to be some transition issues, some hiccups from the old contract to the new. We know that. That's the way change is. That's how change works. But I do believe it'll open up our state to more access. It'll be less restrictive on a technology center, in my mind, to do certain things with that coordinator they've had in the past. Now that they have flexibility to recruit people, whereas before we couldn't go out and recruit those students, now we can recruit. Now we can make sure that they get into the right training. So it increases the flexibility that a school would have where they haven't had in the past.
And I believe I read in there that if the federal funding goes away, then the program also.
Yes. It's a grant. So yes, yeah, it's as long as the grant's good, then we're good. Yeah.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do you mind calling roll, Ashley?
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Hillary?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Ms. Wesson?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dillingham?
Yes.
Superintendent Walters?
Yes. Motion passes. Okay, let's take a look at the next one there, Letha.
Okay, the second contract with Oklahoma Human Services will be to develop and implement jobs for American graduates. This program is basically a program that works with at-risk youth in high schools. It works with at-risk youth to prevent future unemployment and to increase graduation rates. We are looking at this first year, there again being a one-year pilot program. All of the funding for Jobs for American Graduates is written as a one-year pilot. We hope after that 1 year that we will be able to show success with those 10 schools that we are currently going to recruit. And then we will look for possible ways to continue funding for Jobs for American Graduates.
So do you already have the 10 schools, or you're going to recruit them after this is approved?
We have 2 of the 10 that are currently participating in Jobs for American Graduates, and then we will open that up to other school districts.
Yep. If I may, thank you, Letha. We've talked, I think this body has addressed JAG before and talked about JAG and the value of JAG versus anything else that we do in Career Tech. So Oklahoma Career Tech is known for producing the best programs that keep students engaged across the country. That's why JAG has leaned toward us to lead it. But we do not want it to be duplicative of what we already do. So that's why we target schools. We do believe that there are schools that could benefit. What's good about this contract is the funding stream comes from a federal grant again, so that it will not hurt our budget and our plans for growth for current CTSO organizations or the enrollment in our full-time program. So it will not impact those things. That's why we can move forward with this contract. I know the superintendent and I have talked about before, I would not encourage this body to vote forward if it was within our existing funding. But because there's a grant funding out there for this that can help us move forward, I'm in favor of Oklahoma Career Tech leading it.
Now, I remember when we looked at it before, it was a great program that many of us on the board were interested in, but it just couldn't pass at that time.
Right.
I think the issues were around, I mean, that was before I was here, but I think the issues were around funding though, wasn't it? I mean, I think that was an into the director's
I think
point.
the worry was the duplication.
Yeah.
And, okay, so those address both concerns from the board from before. Excellent, very good.
So when we employ a person, which we'll have to employ a person that acts as a program specialist, much like we have in all the other divisions, that person will be charged with pinpointing areas of need. So those 10 schools will be where it's needed, not to take away from a DECA program or to take away from a family consumer science program. But this contract lets us employ a person, so that will be their direction.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Ashley, do you mind calling roll for us?
Mr. Dillingham?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Wesson?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Mr. Hillary?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Superintendent Walters?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you for that, Letha.
Thank you, Letha.
Next, we have discussion of possible action for Perkins State Plan with Dr. Robbins.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. My name is Steve Robison, and I oversee the Perkins Grant for the state agency. So I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about our Perkins State Plan and our updates. Shouldn't take more than a couple hours, but just kidding. So in your board packets, you guys should have a copy of the state plan that's been updated. There's also 2 appendices, a comprehensive local needs assessment and then the local application template. The local application and the comprehensive local needs assessment, those didn't have any material changes since 4 years ago. Basically, I'll give you a little bit of a background on Perkins 5. We did our first state plan 4 years ago with Perkins 5. And part of that requires a local needs assessment, which is really just a tool that our schools use to engage with stakeholders. So it has, and you can look through it, but it considers like student performance data, workforce information, programs of study, looks at professional development, retention, recruitment of teachers, et cetera. So really, it's just a way for them to consider all this information, intentionally engage with stakeholders, and then that would inform them on how they would use their budget and then budget their Perkins funds. So, and then the other appendices is the local application. That's the application that our schools fill out when they get their basic Perkins money. So the priorities from the local needs assessment needs to match the application. So that's kind of the basic process on that. Like I say, this was an update from 4 years ago, so a lot of the information is in there and is the same. But I did want to point out some of the changes. We had a lot of stakeholder consultation in this. Our career and career development, counseling career development division did some surveys to determine back in the summer. A couple different surveys to determine how to better serve our students that identify in special populations. That's an important part of Perkins. Then in January, our team did some stakeholder feedback meetings with our schools. We did one at Tulsa Tech and one at Moore Norman. So we basically discussed the local needs assessment process, the granting process. Then we had panels from workforce, from education, from folks that represent students in special populations, et cetera. So we had them on the panels. We had discussion and table discussions and facilitated that between our schools and the stakeholders. We additionally did some trainings. Our division did trainings, 4 trainings statewide with our schools in February for this upcoming grant cycle. So, but basically through the document, talks about our system and how we serve students and workforce, how our goals align, our strategic plan aligns with the state goals, the governor's goals for workforce and economic development. The biggest change, if you want to follow along, if you go to the back of the document in Section D, which is the accountability for results, this is where we kind of reviewed our performance measures. And it's on page 54, but basically, how did we do compared to our goals that were set forth 4 years ago? So there's a chart in there. It has data FY20, 21, 22, 23. On FY20, there was no data. The reason for that is that was a transition year. Nobody reported data that year. None of the states were required to do that. So you can kind of thumb through there and see how we shook out. The big aha there was we really struggled with our academic measures. And that, with the COVID shutdowns, that's been really difficult. That's not only for Oklahoma, that's been a nationwide situation. So one of the ways that we outlined in there to address that for our CTE students was we'd use a portion of our reserve funds to fund an innovative grant, an academic proficiency grant, so that our schools can go out there and if they have any innovative ideas to either integrate academics or tutoring and to try to improve that with our students. And then also that would provide a platform for us to see, okay, who's doing well with this, where are we having successes, and then hopefully be able to share those practices out. So that was kind of the big aha on the secondary side. Also the work-based learning, we kind of talked about that. That's the state goal, and Director Haken visited with that. Our metrics were low on that. And we feel like that's really just a reporting issue. Work-based learning has been backbone of Oklahoma Career Tech for a long time. So our information management division, they implemented a real-time certification work-based learning system in FY21. So we're trying to get the awareness out there with the folks that we talk to, again, through all these panels and all their interactions with our schools, to get them to more accurately report that information. So as we get the information in front of them and use that with them, I think they'll be more incentivized to do that. So that's a brand new measure for us. So, and then on the post-secondary side, we struggle a little bit with non-traditional program concentration, which non-traditional student would be, for example, like a female in a welding program or a male in a nursing program. So we also have a grant that our reserve funds would fund for supporting CTE special populations. Non-traditional students are a special population, so that's something that we would use to make sure that those opportunities are available for those students that are interested. Also, just awareness with the schools and the materials that they're share with their students as far as to try to promote those opportunities for those students. Then on the last page, you'll see kind of a breakdown, the FY '24 budget. That's how our Perkins funds are spent in a nutshell. We don't have our FY '25 allocation yet, should come out any day. But so that's just a brief overview of our state plan. It involved a lot of consultation with our stakeholders, like I say, and feedback and surveys, and want to make sure and get that information from our folks. So, do you have any questions for me?
Steve, thank you. That's a lot of information. As he mentioned, I would make a comment, work-based learning, he said, is the backbone of what we do, and that's definitely accurate. So, for example, I was an ag teacher for 8 years, and every student is forced to do work-based learning, but we don't track that accurately. So when we come to our matrix on that, it looks like we perform very low. Full-time programs at technology centers, I mean, that's the expectation, is that they will do some work-based learning of some sort, but we did not do a good job reporting that. So we're working on that. That's not a school issue. Now, I would say different from that, we do have to figure out how can we support academic rigor and growth, and with SD, how can we help that? That's an issue that we really do need to work on, and that's what they're trying to address with innovative grants, so I commend the team on what they've done there. The work-based learning, I think that's all reporting. That's my opinion. The other issue is real, as we need to help promote academic growth and rigor. So we're working on ways to do that. That would be my thoughts, and I appreciate Steve presenting and going through all those meetings and listening to every school's feedback and putting all that all together.
Thank you, Steve. A lot of information. That's good stuff for us to have. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Barring any other further discussion, as that's what we have on the agenda, so we'll entertain a motion to dismiss.
Oh, we got to vote on this first.
We got to vote on it?
Yep.
Oh, and possible action. Okay, so we do need a vote.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Hillary?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Miss Wesson?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dillingham?
Yes.
Superintendent Walters?
Yes, motion passes. Okay, so we've got that off the agenda now then, so now we can entertain any motions towards adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
We got a motion and a second. Can you call roll for us, Ashley?
Yes. Mr. Dillingham?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Miss Wesson?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert? Mr. Hillary?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Superintendent Walters?
Yes. So adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for being here today.
Thank you.
Let me start putting
Randy, I'm working on DECA to get bigger socks. A size 13, guys. I'm like, hey, those are a little short.
If we're gonna get clothes, we might as well start clothing all of it, like
Ties, shirts.
shoes, cufflinks.
You got a whale pin?
I know, where am I?
We're talking about clothes and interior